Krishna Kirtana Ganana Tana Pano Premamritam Manidhi Dhiradhi
Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksuranmilitanyena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stavidanyena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Karamaya Dadanti Swapadantikam. First of all, I offer my most humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Shiksha and Diksha Guru, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Satarasata Sisi Mahat Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Then I offer my obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Shiksha and Sannyas Guru, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Satarasata Sisi Mahat Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. I offer my humble obeisances at the lotus feet of my Shiksha Gurus, Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj, and Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Goswami Maharaj. I offer my humble obeisances unto the Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the speaker of Bhagavad Gita, unto Sri Arjuna, the hearer of Bhagavad Gita, and unto Srimad Bhagavad Gita itself. I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of all the great commentators on Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srila, the original Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Srila Baldev Vijayabhushan, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. And I offer my humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who are present here today, my Dandavat Pranam. So, in following the narrative that is being driven by the 16 questions asked by Sri Arjuna to Sri Krishna. There were two questions in the 6th chapter, question 6 and question 7. The path of yoga appears impractical due to the unsteady nature of the mind, and what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist? Krishna answers both the questions about how to control the mind and also about how the transcendentalist gets an opportunity to take birth, either in a wealthy family where he has the opportunity and time for doing his seva to develop Krishna consciousness. I gave some examples of one lady I know in Britain. She comes from a very wealthy family of aristocracy, and now with her comfort she sits at home and she does deity worship every day and takes care of the deity. There's another example actually. I know of one man who was born to a very wealthy diamond merchant in Mumbai, and family is very wealthy. They have a very big apartment. And he spends his whole time giving Srimad Bhagavatam Katha. He goes around India and also in Europe and also in Thailand and Malaysia and everywhere. He travels around. Young man, very handsome, very talented, excellent speaker, and all he does is he speaks about Srimad Bhagavatam. He gives these 7-day Bhagavat Saptas everywhere. And he's in ISKCON, he's a disciple of Srila Radha Govinda Maharaj. So like this, we see that he got opportunity, very good opportunity to be born in a wealthy family and a devoted family. They're also devotees, They were initiated by Radha Govinda Maharaj, so he got both wealth, comfort, and he also got devotee family. Those who were fortunate enough to be born in a devotee family, a very good opportunity for them. Srila Prabhupada mentions how he and Srila Saraswati Thakur were born into devotional families. Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj also born into a very high-class devotional family. So, in this way, we see, of course, in the case of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Saraswati Thakur, there was no question of continuing something that they didn't finish in a previous life. But in actual fact, they are manifesting themselves from the spiritual world for the purpose of spreading the mission of Krishna consciousness all over the world. Now, the next question is not going to come until the 8th chapter. Question 8 comes in the 8th chapter. So, what we did at the end of, what Krishna does at the end of the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is he declares that of all, that the different types of yogis, yoginam api sarvesham madgatenantaratmanam, that of all types of yogis, the one who is practicing bhakti yoga, devotional service, is the highest and most intimately united with him. So now that leads us to the middle 6 chapters of the Gita, which is the heart of the Gita, which is the 6 chapters on bhakti. The first 6 chapters, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, are about karma yoga, wanting some fruit for yourself while giving some fruit to Krishna. But the middle 6 are all about bhakti yoga, and it's going to lead to Kevala bhakti. And the last 6 are Gyan Yoga. And we're going to explain in this overview of the middle 6 chapters why those 6 chapters about Gyan Yoga come at the end. So, the way the 6 chapters in the middle of the Gita are set up is you have the 7th, 8th, and 9th, the first 3, and then 10th, 11th, and 12th. Last 3. The 7th, 8th, and 9th are expressing the 3 concepts of Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. What is Sambandha? Sambandha means creating a bond, a relationship. It's establishing a relationship between the devotee and Krishna. So, in the 7th chapter, we'll see how Krishna explains that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Then the next is Abhideya. The Abhideya doesn't come till the 9th chapter. In the 8th chapter, Abhideya is process. So the process comes in the 9th chapter. And in the 8th chapter, we get Prayojan, the goal. We hear in the 8th chapter about how one attains the spiritual world, by what process one can attain the spiritual world by which one never returns to the material world. So, an example can be given. If you want to go to college, you finished your high school education, now it's time for you to go to college. So you will go and visit a number of different campuses. And by visiting the different campuses, at some point you'll find one campus where you feel comfortable. That this place is home. This is where I belong. This is where I want to study and learn. But when you get to that campus and you feel, so then this is Sambandha. You establish a relationship with the campus. Okay, I want to be here and study here. Then you go to the guidance counselor. So the guidance counselor will ask, what do you want to study? So if you were to tell the guidance counselor, well, I was thinking in the first year I'll study medicine, the second year I'll study law, third year I'll study business, and the fourth year I will study science. What is your goal? Where are you going with this? The guidance counselor will want to understand. You have to give us a goal. What you intend to do. Do you intend to be a doctor, a lawyer, a businessman, a scientist? What do you intend to do? What is your goal? What is your prayogen? Then, when you declare, okay, I'm going in this direction, then the course of study can be given, the process. Process is given when we understand goal, where we're going. So, the process of Krishna consciousness, the practice of Krishna consciousness, is explained on different levels. And in the 9th chapter, we will get the fundamental conceptions of how to execute Krishna consciousness by the practice of devotional service in different means, and ultimately the ultimate platform of Raganuga Kevala Bhakti. That will be given in the last verse of the 9th chapter. So, 7 is Sambandha, 8 Prayojan, 9 process. That's what these 3 chapters are. 7, Krishna will outline who he is. He will explain who he is. I am this person. I am the Supreme. He'll explain what the jiva is. He'll explain what the world is. He'll explain 4 kinds of people who never surrender unto him and establish a relationship. And he'll explain 4 kinds of people that surrender to him and establish a relationship, and why. He'll explain all these things in the 7th chapter. And in the 8th chapter, he will explain how once one goes to the supreme abode, one never returns to this material world. He'll explain that no place in this world is there any happiness. It's all birth, death, disease, and old age. The only place that's happiness is the spiritual world. And to get there, we're going to give you a process. Once you go there, you never have to come back. So now how do you go? Then Krishna begins the 9th chapter saying, now I'm going to give you the most confidential knowledge. The process by which you can attain the goal of going to this, back to Godhead and never returning to this material world. So 7, 8, 9. Sambandha, Prayojan, Abhideya. Relationship, and then goal, and then process. Now, 10th chapter, we get a peek into something. Before we talk about the 10th chapter, the last verse of the 9th chapter, which is dead in the center of the book, is the only verse that's repeated twice in the Gita. So it's the essence of the Gita. It's spoken there, 9:36, I think it is, 35, and then at 1865. So, in 2 places, the same verse is spoken. And then, the 10th chapter begins. This is called the opulences of the Absolute. Now, before the 10th chapter begins, before they start discussing the opulences of the Absolute, the first thing is the verses 8, 9, 10, and 11, which are called the Chatur Sloki. Chatur Sloki means that the essence of the entire Gita is contained in these 4 verses. Now, different commentators approach it from a different perspective. Srila Prabhupada approaches the explanation of these 4 verses almost purely from the platform of Advaigyan Paratattva. When Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Srila Narayan Maharaj and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur talk about it, they hint at the fact that Madhurya Ras is in those 4 verses. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj is the one who expounds upon the deep inner meaning of these 4 verses as they pertain to the process of, or the practice of Madhurya Ras. So the essence of Madhurya Ras is in these Chatur Shloki, in these 4 verses, just like we have the Chatur Shloki of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 2nd canto of the Bhagavatam. Similarly, which is the essence of the entire Bhagavatam. Similarly, we have these 4 verses which are considered the essence of the Gita, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj explains how Madhurya Ras is right at the heart of those 4 verses. Then Krishna enumerates his opulences within this world. He explains that only a fragment of his potency maintains all these opulences in the world. He maintains everything with a fragment of himself. And then Arjuna will ask Krishna to display the opulences in the universal form. And we'll get into the details of why Arjuna asks this question. It has a very significant meaning. And the 11th chapter is a very key chapter because of how it establishes that Krishna in his 2-armed form is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that at the end of that chapter, the process of Ananya Bhakti, undivided devotional service, Kevala Bhakti, is the supreme goal of the Gita. And then in the 12th chapter, Krishna lays out the different levels of bhakti, starting with Raganuga Bhakti in 6, 7, 8, and 9, or 6, 7, and 8. And then in 9, he talks about Vaidhi. And then in 10, he talks about Nishkarma Karma Yoga. And then in 11, Gyan, like this, he talks about each stage. Okay? And so in this way, everything is laid out in these 6 chapters, explaining the science of bhakti and the highest goal of Kevala, or undivided devotional service, unadulterated pure devotional service. So tonight we're going to start with this 7th chapter. And we will read what Krishna states at the beginning of the 7th chapter. Krishna is continuing in this chapter from where he left off in the other chapter. He points out in the 46th verse of the 6th chapter that a yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empiricist or the jnani, and greater than the fruitive worker or the karmi. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi, and then of all yogis, he who abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, or bhakti yoga, is most intimately united with me in yoga, and is the highest of all yogis. So he establishes that at the end of the 6th chapter. Now he's continuing with this conversation, because in this entire 7th chapter, Arjuna doesn't ask one question. Krishna is speaking and explaining to Arjuna what is his position and how to establish a relationship with him. Sambandha. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Sakta Mana Partha Yogam Yunja Mad Ashraya Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yata Janyasi Tachtrinu. Now hear, O son of Pritha, Arjuna, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So he ends the 6th chapter talking about how Bhakti Yoga is the best system of yoga, the highest of all yogas. The Bhakti Yogi is the best yogi. Now he's explaining how by practicing this yoga, one can have a relationship with him. Jnanam teham savi jnanam idam vakshyam yasheshata yaj gnatva nehabhyo nyaj gnatvayam avashishyate. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and noumenal, by knowing which there shall be nothing further to be known. So here, Prabhupada makes the point in the purport that complete knowledge includes both the knowledge of the phenomenal material world as well as the spiritual behind it. The source of both of them is transcendental knowledge. And the Lord wants to explain the above-mentioned system of knowledge because Arjuna is Krishna's confidential devotee and friend. So now, Krishna has said at the end of the 6th chapter that the yogi is better than the ascetic, he's better than the jnani, he's better than the karmi, and of all yogis, the best yogi is the bhakti yogi. And now he gives a hint at how difficult it actually is to achieve perfection in bhakti yoga. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschim mam vati tattvata. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Bhumir apal nalo vayu kam mano buddhir evacha ahankara iti amme bina prakritir astada. So now he's going to explain about the nature of the world. This is the phenomenal material world. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 comprise my separated material energies. Then he explains that besides the material world, there's something spiritual behind it that animates it. Apadeyam itastvanyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat. Besides this inferior nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mind, which are all the living entities, jiva bhutam mahabaho, who are struggling with the material nature and are sustaining the universe. So the jivas are sustaining, animating the universe. It's all, sorry about that. So we, the jivas, are sustaining, maintaining, animating the universe. It is all being maintained by our presence. The jivas are living force, and that living force is what's moving the jad jagat, the dead material energy, okay? And the forms of the material energy and other parts of the material energy, how it is maintained, is by Supersoul, Paramatma. Paramatma is the in between every atom, in every atom, and he's keeping the form and structure of the material world in its temporary shapes until the material world dissolves and goes back into its undifferentiated material elements. So, Etad yonini bhutani sarvanitya upadraya aham kritsnasya jagata prabhava pralayastata. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am its origin and dissolution. Now Krishna is establishing, first, it is very rare for someone to achieve perfection, and then even when someone achieves perfection, it is very rare that he is able to know me in truth, okay? Then he explains about the material energies, how they exist in this world, and then he explains about the fact that these material energies in this material world, he talks about the jiva, who animates the material energies, and then he talks about how this material energy and everything in the spiritual world as well comes from him, that he's the source of both the material and spiritual. And that is now emphasized in this verse. And this verse clearly, this is Advaigyan Paratattva. This is the establishment of Krishna's superior position as the source of everything. Mata paratamam nanyat. Mata paratamam nanyat kinchirasti dhaninjaya mai sarvam idam prokam sutre maniganaiva. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung upon a thread. So here, Krishna makes it very clear that he is the source of everything, material and spiritual. All of the material world rests upon him, just the way pearls rest upon a string and a thread. And therefore, one should understand Krishna's superior position. There's the material world, there's a jiva superior to the material world, and then there's Krishna superior to the jiva. He establishes all three, and he makes it clear. So this is how Krishna is establishing relationships. He establishes the relationship of the jiva to the material world, and he establishes the relationship of Krishna to the material world and the spiritual world. Now he's going to talk about how he is the actual material nature, how the actual material nature is non-different from Krishna. Raso aham mapsu kunteya. O son of Kunti, Arjuna, I am the taste of water. I am the light of the sun and the moon. I am the syllable Om, and I am the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether, and I am the ability in man. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat and fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penances of all ascetics. O son of Pritha, Arjuna, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desires. I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles, O Lord of the Bards. All states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am, in one sense, everything. But I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature. So Krishna establishes his position as not being influenced by or under the influence of material nature, specifically the modes of material nature. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. Daivesha gunamayi mama maya durataya. This is mama maya. It is my maya. This material nature is mine. I own it. Mam eva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So here he's concluding this section of the 7th chapter where he's discussing the different qualities of the material nature that are non-different from himself, and yet how he is above that material nature and unaffected by it, that he's transcendent to it, that he's the source of it. So in this way, he's giving all of this information. He ends that here by saying that if you surrender unto him, you can cross beyond this material nature, no matter how difficult it is. Now, before he describes 4 kinds of people who will surrender to him, first he describes 4 kinds of people who never surrender unto him for any reason. Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradama maya frita jnana asuram bhavam ashrita. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. So now, Srila Prabhupada, he goes into a very long explanation, 4 pages, purport, where he is explaining about the nature of the duskritanas, the miscreants, those persons who refuse to surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. They are grossly foolish people who work like beasts of burden. These are the mudhas. They are also Naradama, or the lowest among mankind, because they are always thinking about how to enjoy their material senses. And there's the Maya Frita Jnana, those persons who are very erudite in material knowledge, but their knowledge is actually stolen by illusion. They come to conclusions about the nature of God based on what they are seeing or experiencing with their temporary, mundane material senses. And then, Asuram Bhavam Ashritaha, those of demoniac nature. And this will be explained in the 16th chapter, Divine and Demoniac Nature, what the demoniac people are like, how they are openly atheistic, and they have no desire to surrender to God on any level. They don't believe that there's any God. They don't believe that he exists. They criticize, demean, and demoralize all kinds of religious people in their practices. So these people, these persons, we understand they won't surrender to Krishna. They're not interested in surrendering to Krishna. They have no desire. Now Krishna is going to explain about the persons that do surrender unto him. Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritano arjuna arto jignaso arta arti jnani cha bharata shava. Well, best among the Bharats, Arjuna, 4 kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. So in this way, now Krishna explains that some people approach him out of distress. They may be ill, they may have had a natural disaster, they lost their home, family member, some kind of problems in the material world, some kind of distress which they get. I remember seeing an article on the internet about after the big stock market crash in 2008, when thousands and thousands of people lost money, jobs, position, everything. And at that time, they were remarking how suddenly all the churches were full again. Pastors were making a observation that now the churches and the synagogues are again full, that people are coming, because when you're in distress, you turn to God, and you ask God to please relieve your distress, if you're pious. If you're not pious, you'll curse God for your distress. But if you're pious, you'll ask God to please help you relieve your distress. Then there's also those who want money. There's people in this world who think that if I have money, then all my problems will be solved. Sometimes even the devotees become confused and think if we just had money, it'd solve all of our problems. So there's people who need money. They go to Krishna, please God, help me with money. Then there's the inquisitive. This is an interesting group. They don't have any distress. They have a nice house. They have a nice job. They don't have any problem with lack of wealth. They have wealth, good family. Everything's comfortable. Their life is comfortable. But yet they don't feel satisfied. They don't feel complete. They're looking for something. I have all this. I have money. I have a house. I have a car. I have a family. I have this. I have that. I have so many things. I'm healthy. I'm not sick. All the people in my family are healthy. Everybody's fine. No distress. No lack of funds. But something's missing. So those persons, they'll inquire. They'll look. Where can I find that thing, that piece inside that's missing, that hole that needs to be full? These are the inquisitive. They're called jignasu, the inquisitive. So the inquisitive persons, they will look for Krishna, not for money, not for relief of distress, but to inquire about the possibility that if they understand the absolute truth, they might finally become more complete in their life. These are the inquisitive. Then you have the jnani, those who are wise persons. The wise persons, they have already gone through all this. They know that even if their distress is relieved, more distress will come. They know that even if they have money, they can lose money. They know that money comes and goes. They know that even if they're comfortable in all areas of their life, still they'll feel some emptiness. They know all of this. So they're looking. They're looking for something more than the status quo. This is not enough. I've talked with many of my God brothers and God sisters. Many of us had this inclination. We had read many books on philosophy. I started when I was 13, 14 years old reading books about reincarnation, astrology, philosophy, many things I read. I was looking for something. And many of us were like that. We were looking, we were searching. We were studying many books, many ideas, many conceptions. And then Srila Prabhupada came. And he gave us Krishna consciousness. And we understood immediately when we saw it, oh yes, this is what I'm looking for. So, the wise man, he will come to Krishna not for anything material. He will come only because he wants to have union with Krishna, union with God. Tesham jnani nitya yukta ekka bhaktir vishishyate priyo hi janino tyartam aham sa cha mama priya. Of these, the wise man who is full in knowledge, in union with me, through pure devotional service, is the best. For I am very dear to him, and he is dear to me. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to verily dwell in me. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he attains me. Now Krishna gives something very, very revealing about trying to get sambandha or union with him. Bahunam jammanam ante jnananam mam prapadyante vasudeva sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me. Knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is, such a great soul is very rare. So now Krishna, at the beginning of this chapter, he talks about how out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Now he refers back. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So now Krishna makes it clear. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha, very rare personality. Vasudeva Sarvameti, who surrenders unto Vasudeva. Now he's going to explain about persons who do not surrender unto him and who try to find happiness or try to find material pleasures by worshiping lesser deities. As we talked about in one of the opening lectures of the series, This is called henotheism. The Gita is actually teaching henotheism. Monotheism is the practice of worshiping only one God. And polytheism is the practice of worshiping many gods. But henotheism is the process of accepting that there's one supreme God, but there are sub-deities who are there that can or cannot be worshipped depending on your relationship with the supreme deity. So here, Krishna is going to talk about this. Kamaistaiste rigyana prapadyante nya devata tam tam niyamam ashtaya prakritya niyata svaya. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. So, when you desire material benefits, depending on your level of realization, those who are atheistic, narcissistic, they think everything depends on themselves, on their own work. I will work hard, I will make money, I will become powerful, I will become important, I will achieve everything. So they think that this is all done by their own endeavor, that their own hard work will help them to achieve whatever it is that they're looking for in this world. When one passes through that level of narcissism and self-aggrandizement and starts looking out beyond that, he then comes to the platform of trying to understand that I need blessings. I need help from someone outside of myself, someone greater than me. But I still want material pleasure. So therefore they worship different demigods. They worship Saraswati in order to achieve material knowledge and education. They worship Ganesh in order to remove obstacles, so on the path of their education or on the path of their business, their economic development. They worship Lakshmi in order to get money and profits for their business that they're working at. They worship Shiva or Parvati in order to get a good husband or a good wife. Or they worship the Panchopasana, the five deities, Vishnu, Surya, Durga, Shiva, and Ganesha, as a process of achieving moksha or liberation to ultimately worship the Brahman. So, in this way, kamaistais, kama means lust. Their hearts are distorted. Their minds are distorted by material desires. And therefore they surrender unto different demigods to achieve their material desires. Now Krishna says, yo yam yam tanum bhakta shraddhayarchitam ichati tasya chalam shraddham tam eva vidyami aham. I am in everyone's heart as the supersoul. As soon as one desires to worship the demigods, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to some particular deity. So this is Krishna's way of getting one to gradually surrender. Okay, now you've understood that you can't get things by your own endeavor, your own hard work. You're no longer narcissistic. You're now looking outside of yourself to try and get some help. You still want material pleasures. You're worshiping a deity, a demigod. Okay, I'll give you faith. I'll give you faith because faith in something greater than yourself is a step forward in spiritual progress. So I'll give you faith. I'll give you faith to worship that deity. Endowed with such faith, He seeks favors of a particular demigod and obtains his material desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. So Krishna is the one who's bestowing the benefits. No one else can bestow the benefits but Krishna. The demigods are only his agents. They can only act on his behalf. They cannot act independently, and they cannot bless without the possibility of getting the strength, the power, and the blessings of the source of all such power, Krishna. He's the one who supplies them. Antavatu phalam tesham tadbhavatyalpamedasha. Devan deva yajo yanti madbhakta yanti mammapi. Men of small intelligence who worship the demigods and their fruits are limited and temporary. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods. But my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. So now he's setting them up. He's setting up the next chapter to come. He's saying, okay, I've explained to you how you can have a relationship with me. And if you become confused and you want a relationship with the demigods in order to get material desires, I'll give you that because it's better than being self-serving and narcissistic. However, you should understand that if you worship those demigods, you can't come to me. This again refers back to ye yatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajami aham. Everyone follows my path in all respect. As they surrender unto me, Krishna says, I reward them accordingly. Now Krishna is explaining what the reward is. You can't worship Shiva or Durga and expect to come to me. You'll go to Shiva or Durga. If you worship a demigod, you'll go to the demigods. As you surrender unto me, I reward you accordingly. If your surrender is to the demigods, then you go to the demigods. And if you surrender to me, my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. So those who worship me, those who surrender unto me, they achieve me. They have union with me, Sambandha Gyan. But now he's setting this next chapter up. The 8th chapter is about Prayojan, how Krishna's abode is the supreme planet. So this verse is now the setup in the narrative for the next chapter. But before he goes on to that chapter, Krishna's going to give a few zingers to those persons who are too much attached to the material world. Avyaktam vyaktam apanam manyante mama buddhaya param bhavam ajananto mama vyayam anuttamam. Unintelligent men who know me not think I have assumed this form and personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is changeless and supreme. So this is a very important verse. This refers back to the 4th chapter, where Krishna says that those who understand my appearance and activities never take birth again in this material world. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo beti tattvata. Those who know me in truth. So here Krishna is saying, unintelligent men do not know me in truth. They think I have assumed this form and personality. What is he referring to? He's referring to the Mayavadi philosophy. In the Mayavadi philosophy, they say that everything is Brahman and that Brahman assumes a form in Maya, but in its original state, it is formless. So he's directly referring to this conception. They think I've assumed the form and personality. That the Brahman has transformed into Krishna. but they don't understand. And later Krishna will tell in the 14th chapter, Brahmano hi pratishta aham. I, aham, am the foundation of the Brahman. It rests on me. Here, he's making the point. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature. Krishna's higher nature. Higher than the material world, higher than Brahman, higher than Paramatma. Vedanti tat tatva vidam tatvam yaj jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaneti. Bhagavan, changeless and supreme, the highest nature. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samanvritaha mudho yam nabijananti loko mam ajam avyayam. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my eternal creative potency, Yogamaya. And so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. And to know Krishna is not an easy thing. When he says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tattvata, who knows me in truth, this is not an easy thing. Because there's so many misconceptions. So many misconceptions. For instance, I was teaching this Bhagavad Gita seminar in China. So originally in China, the Taoist religion was an impersonal conception. Then the Buddhist religion was an impersonal conception. Then the atheist conception of communism is also there. So the emphasis throughout the history of the country and its peoples, it's a culture of impersonalism, voidism. So this culture of impersonalism and voidism makes it very difficult for them to understand the nature of the spiritual form, which is superior to the material form, because it's eternal. Their entire conception is rooted in the material energy. They don't know. They don't understand beyond the material energy. And they think that whatever is beyond it is void and impersonal and has no form, shape, personality, or anything of that nature. I was explaining how I've explained here in these classes about the gross physical body, the subtle body, the soul, the dissolution of the subtle body, the manifestation of the soul's eternal form and personality, etc. So after I had explained on how one has a relationship with Krishna in the spiritual world, so after explaining all the details, I started questioning them. So I asked this man to explain, what is it that I just told you? He said, well, you said that first we have this physical body. Yes. Made of the 5 elements. Yes. And inside that, there's a subtle body made of 3 elements, mind, intelligence, and ego. Yes. And inside that is the soul. Okay. And by the practice of bhakti, the subtle body will dissolve and the soul will be liberated from the subtle body. Yes. And then the soul merges with Krishna. No. They got when it comes to that last step, because of the indoctrination of impersonalism, I was giving the same class in another place in Hong Kong, and I explained that the subtle body dissolves, the subtle material mind, the subtle intelligence, the subtle material intelligence, the false ego, it'll dissolve, and the soul will manifest. So one of the young ladies raised her hand. Maharaj, if my mind dissolves, then that means I won't have a mind? I said, no. I said, you are the soul. Yes. I said, your soul has a spiritual mind, a spiritual intelligence, and a spiritual form. And then she said, my soul has a spiritual mind? I said, yes. And then collectively, there was like 20 Chinese devotees in the room, and they all went, oh, like this big light bulb went off in their heads simultaneously. That the soul has a form, it has a mind, it has senses. They hadn't experienced that before. That's the indoctrination of impersonalism. And so, in the West, although people are born into Christian families and religious families, etc., we do have a level of freedom by which we can make decisions to follow certain things. There is a rise in popularity in a number of different cultural phenomena that are connected to atheism, etc. And the result is that in all of these cases, they reject the position of God, or of God being, of there being a supreme being, or of them having a soul. They even have a little meme or a little phrase that they use, an acronym, YOLO. You only live once. YOLO. This is how they believe. This is what they think. So you only live once. Get everything out of this life you can get. Enjoy. Enjoy your senses. So Krishna says, I don't manifest myself to such foolish people. Those who are foolish and unintelligent, for them, I'm always covered. My actual position, my spiritual form, is not known to them. And so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and unfallible. I always exist. My form is changeless and supreme and transcendent to all. Vedaham samatitani vartmanani charjuna bhavishyani chabutani mam tu veda nakaschana. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living beings, all living entities. But me, no one knows. O sign of Bharat, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. So we're all born, this is almost similar to the concept of original sin. In Catholicism, you're born with original sin. So he's saying here, all living entities are born into delusion. We're all under the illusion of Maya. We're overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. So this is called Sukriti. And Bhakti Sukriti has to be acquired, accrued over many births by both sadhana practice and devotion. And there are different pious activities that you can perform which have spiritual potency. When we were with Srila Prabhupada in the festival at Allahabad, it was the Kumbh Mela, the Kumbh Mela festival in Allahabad. When we were with Prabhupada at the Kumbh Mela festival in Allahabad, at that time, somebody asked him a question. I was sitting there next to him, and they came in and they asked. It said that if you bathe in the Sangam means the confluence of the Ganges, the Yamuna, and the Saraswati, which runs underneath, where those three meet. So they're called Sangam. There's a section which they say, this is where the three meet, here. So if you bathe in those three rivers at that time, at the astrological important time, it is said that you achieve moksha. So someone was asking, what is this moksha? What is it that I achieve when I bathe in the Sangam at that time? And Srila Prabhupada said, if I'm in a room and I want to go to another room, but the door is closed, then I can't go, or it becomes difficult to go. But if the door is opened, then I can easily pass into the next room. So, when you do these kinds of activities, the door is open. Your ability to access liberation from the material world becomes easy. All the difficulties are removed. And so this is what he's saying here. Persons who've acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. I understand that there's nothing else but to serve Krishna. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge of me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental and fruitive activities. So this, of course, refers back to the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the 24th verse. Prabhupada talks about in the purport how everything is actually Brahman, but when it's covered by illusion, Maya, and the process of Krishna consciousness is to transform the material energy back to Brahman. That this is the whole process of Krishna consciousness. He explains in that purport, 424. So here, he's saying that they are actually Brahman. Why are they Brahman? They're spiritualized. The body becomes spiritualized because it's engaging in Krishna service. This is what he says in that purport. The offering, the object that is being offered to, the act of offering, the executioner of the offering, the process of doing the offering, everything is together Brahman. So he's now referring back to that point. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental and fruitive activities. They know the difference. And they're engaged in devotional service. Those who know me as the Supreme Lord, as the governing principle of the material manifestation, who know me as the one underlying all the demigods and as the one sustaining all sacrifices, can, with steadfast mind, understand and know me even at the time of death. So now he has set up the situation for the 8th chapter. He has spoken from the end of the 6th chapter through the entire 7th chapter. Arjuna has not asked any questions since 6:37. So that was 10 verses at the end of the 6th, and then another 30 verses in the 7th chapter. So that's 40 verses that Krishna has spoken about the subject matter, what happens to the transcendentalist. Krishna explains everything. He sets up his explanation of how to have union, sambandha with him. All of that is established in the 7th chapter. And now we're going to get the 8th question, which is in the first verse of the 8th chapter, in which Arjuna is going to inquire about the nature of what Krishna has just talked about Brahman, the self, fruit of activities, material manifestation, the demigods. Explain this to me. So now Arjuna is going to ask this question, and Krishna is going to spend the 8th chapter answering that question, and that will be Prayojan Tattva. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,